Hey everyone, Nashi here. So there's been a lot of requests lately for skill builds, add-ons, what I'm using, what I recommend, stuff like that. I just wanted to go over that stuff real quick to take care of those requests and help newer players out, and maybe players that are kind of struggling with deciding on what to get. As far as skills go, I have quite a bit of skill points, so most people won't have this many. Most will probably have around 1,500, but obviously one thing you want to do is make sure you max out your entire awakening tree. It's important for various reasons. Tenacious Edge, since it doesn't have a frontal guard, you could probably hold off on maxing this out. It's nice and it's kind of not nice. It depends. For PvE, it's okay, but we generally don't really need to use it in PvE. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about leveling this up until you get to the point where you're just trying to find places to put points. And PvP, I tend to use this when I need to finish off an opponent that's on the ground. So having the most damage you can do obviously is better. So plus it heals. It just doesn't have a frontal guard anymore like it used to, so it's just not as useful as it used to be. Plus, it's got a slow animation, so it can get you killed. But everything else is pretty useful. Even Petal Bloom, regardless of it not having its super armor anymore. The frontal guard on charge is fine in some cases in 1v1s, and in a 1v1 scenario, it's a good combo piece. So you want to have as much damage on that as possible. As far as pre-awakening goes, there's a lot of skills you don't need, but there's also quite a few key skills you want to get. First things first, all the passes, get the max you can get. That's a given. Excuse me. Couple things you want to do is lock Rage Transfer unless you want to actively use it, because it starts messing with our Reband skills, which I'll go over here in a second. Lock Rage Absorption for special if you want to use the common one, which the common one's better, so I recommend using that anyways. It gives the same thing the special gives except AP as well, so might as well just use the common one. This is a new thing that was implemented to generalize the absorptions for all classes. As far as major skills to get, you want to get all the way to triple arrow. You don't really need triple arrow, but it's really nice to have. I recommend getting it. Gives you more arrows to work with, so you can CC your opponents from ranged. And then, of course, absolute stub arrow. It just makes it stronger and more reliable, so it's really nice. I recommend getting that as well. I used to use evasive stub arrow with this one. Charged stub arrow evasion, which I also got the charged enhanced version as well, and you can end up getting the absolute now too. But I don't know. Ever since they implemented the changes with Sleet Step to allow you to use it during pre-awaken, the key sequencing is really annoying, and I'm having difficulty with it myself. So if you're not having problems with it, I would recommend getting this. It's a great iframe. The problem is it's messing with my ability to use this ability. I end up doing a Sleet Step instead, and that can get you killed, especially if Sleet Step's on cooldown and you don't have super armor on it. So I got rid of this for now to prevent myself from accidentally killing myself. So yeah, it's still really useful though. Just if you can figure out how to do the keys properly and not do Sleet Step every time, then you're good to go on getting this all the way up to absolute. Make sure you get Precise Martial Arts, as this ignores knockback and stiffness resistance by 15%, so it's basically a little bit stronger than a precision gem in your main hand weapon. I got Absolute Cyclone Slash. I don't really use it. Other players like Vert, for example, he uses it, and he likes it a lot. I like it, it's just, honestly, it doesn't fit my playstyle, and I don't have a spot to put it on my hotbar. I use my hot bars for many other things such as potions and elixirs, as well as just the main skills I tend to use. So you can use it if you want. I probably honestly don't even need the points. It's kind of a waste maybe to put them in here, but I have it for right now. Red Moon, this one's obvious. Max everything out. You even get Ascension to Heaven. It's very powerful. If you've watched any of my recent videos, especially versus Block Jump that I loaded last night, I tend to use a lot of Red Moon into Ascension to Heaven, and then I follow up with Crimson Gust. Like I said, I'll go over these in just a few moments, but yeah, you definitely want Ascension to Heaven. It still does a lot of damage, and it refloats the target too, so it's pretty useful if they're already on the ground, and you can float them again. Blooming, max this out, get Absolute. You can get away with just using regular Blooming for a utility stun, but it does so much damage. It's kind of too good not to get it. I've tried to justify it and use the normal Blooming myself, but like I said, it's just way too much damage. You need it, especially with all the Renown score and everything now. It's just too important. You gotta have it as Absolute. Unless you can make it work for you, I would recommend getting Absolute for the damage. Tiger Blade, I got Tiger Blade because it helps with travel time. Also in a 1vx scenario, if you're in a situation where you run out of stamina and you can't get away from your opponents, you can pop Tiger Blade, which has an iframe initially during the cast animation, so you avoid any damage or anything during that moment, and then you can chase away unrestricted, the only restriction being your WP. So really useful for an escape mechanism. I use it in Node Wars as well as Siege Wars in order to travel to another base if I don't have my horse on me, so it's also really good for scouting. A lot of people underestimate this skill. Even in a Node War scenario, if it's, I would say, lower tier gear score Node Wars, like maybe T1s, T2s, and you're with your group and you get a PA on you, you can pop Tiger Blade, never have to worry about being CC'd, and then follow up on opponents that are getting grounded, because the Dragon Bite version of this ability, when you're in Tiger Blade, the Dragon Bite version is spammable. It uses stamina, and it does a lot of ground attack damage, so it's really useful in that regard. That's just some potential tips and reasons to use it. The Dragon Bite combo being Dragon Bites all the way to Absolute, as well as Dragon Claw all the way to Absolute, and Lunar Slash all the way to Absolute. It's just a lot of damage. We use Dragon Bite all the time now. We have to in order for an engage. It's a safe engage. Dragon Claw is nice if you actually land the Dragon Claw, or the Dragon Bite stiff. Dragon Claw does a lot of damage, so it's just really nice to follow up with that, and then maybe do a back chase Blooming, for example. That would be a typical scenario. Lunar Slash, you could probably get away with not utilizing and scaling up, as Dragon Bite Stiff is really short to allow you to do Lunar Slash, but if you happen to ground your opponent and you run out of cooldowns for like Red Moon, for example, having Dragon Bite, Dragon Claw, and Lunar Slash actually might kill the opponent, so I have it skilled up for that reason. Decap, still garbage, don't even worry about it. Some people use it, I don't like it. We have a fair amount of stuns now after the change to Moonrise, and in Pre-Awakening we want to typically use Blooming for a stun. This has a very slow animation, it'll get you killed. There's just so many bad things about this skill, unfortunately. I wish they would do something about it, but they won't, it seems. I lock it so I don't accidentally use it. I recommend the same. Carver, same thing, skills garbage, used to be fun in PvE. It's still kind of fun to use, but it's useless in PvP, so lock it, don't even skill it up. Kicks, you can get away with, I believe, using upper kick or it's roundhouse kick, one of the two. The roundhouse kick does an air smash, I think that's the one you want to use. You can fit that into a combo, I just haven't got around to playing around with it, so I didn't skill it up and I haven't used it yet, so use at your own discretion, test it out, see if you like it. For right now, because you get upper kick automatically, I just locked it so I didn't accidentally do it on some weird combo I'm trying to do. So that's my reasoning on the kicks. Whirlwind Cut, don't even bother with it. You don't need to lock it though, because you typically don't activate it unless you're doing some weird keys. But a typical scenario, you would never end up doing this probably, so don't worry about it. Blind Thrust all the way to absolute. Just it increases the range, the attack range, as mentioned in the description. It's really useful. It buffs up our critical by 30% for 10 seconds. If you hit your target, it supposedly reduces their melee accuracy. I haven't really got confirmation on that if that even works, but it's supposed to work. It also gives it more accuracy, more damage, and next week in the KR patch, it's going to reduce the stamina cost to only 100 instead of 200, so that'll be nice. Ultimate Nemesis Slash, all the way up to Absolute Nemesis Slash. This is really useful heal in PvE. You can also pull it off in PvP when you ground your opponent and you still have another float option available. You can do Blind Thrust and then Ultimate Nemesis Slash them, and then I'll refloat them off the ground, and then of course you get a heal too, so really useful. I probably haven't demoed it yet in any of my videos, at least my recent videos, but I might try to see if I can incorporate it into a combo. But it's still really useful to have. Always have heal options available to you. For Maehwa's Will, get the Absolute, for obvious reasons, more WP on demand. We don't use it as often as you would think. In PvE we do, but in PvP not so much, because we have our block that helps us generate more WP when it gets hit. But it's still always nice to have in that clutch moment when you need it most, in between WP cooldowns and stuff like that. Chase, obviously, get the max one, ultimate chase. This just allows you to do a number of things, moving in general, as well as canceling and the chase. So you can do chase cancel, which is still possible. I think they fixed the back chase for some reason, or removed that option. Back chase cancel, I mean. So, not too sure about that. I haven't really tested it. Of course, I never really used it anyways, so. But the forward chase cancel still works just fine. Absolute Backstep Slash, I would get it. It increases the range, the attack range, and it applies a negative 50% movement speed debuff for 10 seconds. And it also does a stiff and a down smash. The down smash is pretty rare because of how the new CC changes are. It's a 30% proc rate on down smashes, any down smash. So don't expect it to work for a down smash. However, if they're standing up after you just ground them, you can re-stiff them with this. I pulled it off a couple times in my videos. I need to work on the timing to do it properly, but you can do it. But also applying that negative 50% slow, that's huge. So it's a must get, in my opinion. It also does a fair amount of damage in absolute, so don't underestimate it. It doesn't have PvP reduction on it, so it's nice. Divider, don't even bother getting. You can lock it if you want. I don't hit any keys for it in pre-awakening. You can skill it up to level 2, as well as with Carver to level 2, and leave them unlocked and use in Tiger Blade, because these actually are CC options in Tiger Blade, but I don't use Tiger Blade as much for combo potential, because it's really difficult to do. It's just not worth the effort, in my opinion. So I don't skill them up. I don't use them. I don't use Backstab because we have too many stun options as it is right now in Pre-Awakening Kit, so it's not needed. It used to be nice in old combos, old CC combos, when you had long-standing CCs, but it's just not as viable anymore. Just doesn't do enough damage for what it does. It's a utility stun, and we don't need utility stuns anymore. We need stuns that do a lot of damage so that we can combo our people, our enemies down really quickly. Retaliation, you don't ever have to skill this up. I wouldn't ever skill this up, probably. I don't even know how much damage it does. I haven't tested this in a long time, so it might be worth it. I don't know. I haven't actually messed with it in a while. But just leave it as is my recommendation. For Slice, wouldn't even bother wasting the points on this. The Deep Slice, not worth it. And of course everything else you get automatically, so it's pretty much the skills. As far as the rebams go, I do Blooming Step because it's the farthest travel time and it gives all the debuffs and buffs to you and your enemy, so it's really good. It unfortunately doesn't stiff anymore for PvP, but you still get a forward guard on it, and it's good travel time or just getting out of a situation. And also if you're on a cliff and you use this to go down the cliff, you don't have fall damage, so it's really nice for mobility in that sense. So that's pretty cool. Chaos Crimson Gust. So basically this looks like a Ascension to Heaven ability, but you can do it on demand, and it's a spot heal. It's really useful. It's a must get in my opinion. You can get the Ultimate Maehwa's Will, I think it's called. Yeah, Ultimate Maehwa's Will, which is the other version, which just gives you a buff and actually gives you a 30% crit rate too, I believe, which is also really nice. But it doesn't have any damage potential because all it does is just say AoE, a little bit of nick damage, and it does a pull in PvP or PvE. So it's good for PvE, but it's okay for buffing up your damage and whatnot in PvP. But ultimately, I find Crimson Gust that more useful. Crimson Gust does have a longer cast animation than Ultimate Maehwa's Will, though, so something to consider. I guess it kind of really depends on your gear score, because Renown is so much of a issue now. So try them both out, see if you like them, figure out which one from there that you want to use. And that pretty much wraps up the skills and the rebams. For the add-ons, the ones that I'm currently using are pretty standard. I'm not really deviating and trying anything new too much. I mean, I do try a few things here and there, but I'm mostly focusing on the skills I use the most, which is probably what anyone should be doing. Dragon Bite, it's our main initiator, so getting crit is nice, as well as attack speed. And this is the reason why I don't even bother with the Ultimate Maehwa's Will. There's no point. I'm going to get crit from D-Bite as it is, so I'm not going to ever just randomly use Ultimate Maehwa's Will to buff up and waste a opportunity for a spot heal, or lose damage because I want to buff up. So Blooming, I get PvP damage, as well as attack speed. The attack speed is super important. If you connect with your opponent, you need to get to that next part of your combo immediately. Blooming has a long animation, so if you actually hit someone but don't CC them, the attack speed might be the saving grace for a reason why you escape instead of being punished. And also for combo speed. Chaos Red Moon, get the PvP, and I have it as defense. We are going to change that to attack speed right now. Not quite sure why I had defense in there. I think I was playing around with that, wasn't paying attention. So this would be the proper setup to use. I wonder how long I've been having the DP on there. Moonrise, PvP damage, and crit. This has been pretty much this way for forever almost. So that's really nice. Pedal Drill, defense and attack speed. Some people probably switch Pedal Drill out since they haven't really been able to utilize it fully. Some people don't even utilize it at all right now because it doesn't stun. I still use it, so when I nick my opponent, having that DP can sometimes save me when they catch me and try to combo me. So that's my reasoning for getting it. And attack speed. Just from nicking my opponent, I get more attack speed, which helps me hopefully catch my opponent. So that's my reasoning. Petal Bloom, been experimenting with this. I kind of like it. But at the same time, Petal Bloom isn't as useful anymore. Because it's mostly just a combo piece now rather than something that we can SA trade. So I would probably recommend, you could probably consider switching these two to something else. Like maybe go back to Stigma for the 30% crit buff and pain damage. The only reason is because next week we get super armor on it. Again, we just won't have frontal guard on the stab of Stigma, so something to consider. I'm probably going to switch this out most likely for the Stigma change, which is the old setup for add-ons that we had. So we're not really changing much on the add-ons. I'm just trying out some different stuff. So this is pretty much my setup. Like I said, I'll probably end up considering changing this to Sigma again. Drill I'll probably leave because the defense is really nice. And I still use mouse movement with drills, so I can land my drills pretty consistently. At least to hit my opponent, not to stun, because it doesn't stun anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much the skills and add-ons. I didn't want to make this too long-winded of a video, because I was just trying to go over that. If you have requests for other stuff, just let me know. I might do a separate video on gear as well as gems and whatnot. So let me know if you're interested in that. I'm not really the expert when it comes to gearing up, but there's basic concepts to follow now, especially with Renown Score. The Renown Score pretty much simplifies everything for everybody. You pretty much just go full AP, full DP, getting Urgans and Griffin Helmet to max out your resistances. So it's pretty vanilla. You don't need to worry about accuracy as much anymore. I only have 296 accuracy with my current build, and 2 Gen Vipers, which makes it roughly 336. So you don't really need a lot of accuracy because it's DR and resistance meta. So having the precision gens really help. But yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna go too deep into that. So I'll do a separate video on that. If you have questions or you're interested in seeing that video, just let me know in the comments below, and I can make one of those. All right, thanks guys.